Warning: what you are about to hear, you may find disturbing. You've been warned. Discord isn't just memes and awkward role-playing. It's a place to come together, meet new people, and run for your life. Because Discord can easily become a den of the most horrifying strangers, messed up cult-like activity, among other things. So today, let's dive into the purple rabbit hole of Discord and see what horrors we can dig up. These are 10 allegedly true horror stories from Discord. If I were you, I'd change your online status to invisible forever. By the way, if you've got a creepy story of your own, you can share it with us at darknessprevails.org/submit. Also, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. I think she's having a bad day, but I know how you can have a great one by playing Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is a free game that brings gorgeous console-style graphics, a fascinating storyline, and addictive gameplay into one great mobile game. Without paying a penny, you get giant boss fights, epic PvP battles, and hundreds of different champions to choose from and customize. Speaking of those champions, just look at how good they look. Well, this guy is beautiful in his own way, but still. Raid is expanding fast, so you'd better jump in quick and get a big head start, especially since Raid will be hosting special launch tournaments soon with crazy prizes. And you can even join my clan, Darkness Prevails, with the clan tag DP66. So, support my sponsor and support me by downloading Raid using only my link via the description below, and you'll get 50,000 silver and a free epic champion, part of a new player program courtesy of the dev team. That's a great free game, 50,000 free silver, and a free epic champion, all by clicking the link below. Thanks, Raid Shadow Legends. Now, let the stories begin. Skin Suit from Kirashiro 1. Location: unknown. I'm a 22-year-old girl who lives alone in a rural town. I spend a lot of my time talking to friends online on Discord. It was during one of these occasions that I met someone via a friend request. It was a username that I did not recognize. It was a Friday night, and most of the people in my apartment complex had already left to begin their night of excessive drinking and the usual college kid stuff. I, however, was curled up on my sofa with a good movie and my phone, which was buzzing almost incessantly from my Discord group's chat, which I called my internet family. That night, my internet mom, let's call her M for short, was telling us about a guy she met who used to stalk her and would generally be creepy. This got the whole group curious and interested, and they all began sharing equally creepy stories of their own. This continued on for about 4 hours until I began to doze off. I woke up at around 12:30 a.m., feeling especially groggy, as I had fallen asleep on the sofa, the least comfortable spot in the house. I got up to fetch a glass of water, then I sat back down and began checking my phone. There was the aforementioned friend request, from a guy who named himself simply Jeff. I accepted the request, thinking that it was one of my exes trying to get back in touch. M had been giving out my Discord to them. I'm not sure why, but maybe they wanted to stay in touch and be friends still. I don't know. Jeff and I spent a few minutes with pleasantries, like, "How are you?" But it doesn't take him long to bring up some very weird stuff.
"So, what are you wearing?"
he asks.
"You know you look beautiful in baby blue."
It continued to get a little weird from there, but I shrugged it off, assuming he was drinking. I then decided it might be a good idea to put on some YouTube and distract myself. Why I didn't just block him, I'll never know. Maybe I liked the attention. Maybe I was just tired. About an hour or so passed by, and he's still blowing up my phone. So I caved and opened up our chat. I was not ready to see what he had written me. He said,
"Hey, you there? Don't ignore me. Your skin is so soft. I want to wear your skin when I sleep. I see you. Don't ignore me. I know where you live."
When I saw that he typed out my actual address next, I was shaken. Chills went down my spine, and then came another message.
"I'm outside your window now. I know you have a birthmark on your inner thigh. I'm gonna carve my name into your skin."
I was trembling violently at this point. Not to mention I still suffered from panic attacks due to a previous assault, and this had pushed me right over the edge. I was rocking back and forth on the sofa just out of view of the window. This man knew so much already. I was afraid that if I called or texted someone, if I pleaded for help, he would somehow know, and he would be more mad. And then it happened. A sound that solidified the horror I was in. 2 knocks at the window, followed by silence, and then 2 more knocks. After that, someone ran over to the door and began to bang on it, yelling out my name.
"Kira, I know you're in there. Open the door, sweetie. I don't want to hurt you."
I could only scream back a response as I ran into the bathroom, locking myself inside. The banging and screaming of my name continued for what felt like an eternity. In my rapid heart rate and panic, I think I blacked out. When I woke up, I could see the sun shining below the crack of the door. I opened the bathroom door slowly and peered outside. It was morning. Afternoon, actually. When I looked at the clock, it said it was 1:30 p.m. I'd been out for a while. Reluctantly, I walked into the living room. Everything seemed normal. The door wasn't in splinters all over the floor like I thought it would be. I picked up my phone to text my actual mom, and I quickly told her about what happened when I saw one final message from Jay on Discord. A message that read,
"Kira, I know where you are. You can hide from me as long as you want, but I will find you. You see, I love you, Kira. I would never want to hurt you. I just want to be close to you for always. I just want to make your skin into a suit that I could keep against my skin forever. I know you're hiding in that bathroom, but that's okay. I'll be back. We'll be together soon."
I no longer used Discord. I moved back in with my parents shortly after. I don't have a clue who that was. As with most of these types of encounters, there's no way he should have known where I lived, what my name was. How he found me, I will never know. But it's scary to think that if I opened that door, if he would have gotten in, I would have been his trophy. Discord Stalker from David Bitea. Location: the United Kingdom. It was the summer break of 2018. I was really hyped about this summer in particular, because we were going to go on holiday and chill with some friends. Well, one morning I woke up, and my mom came rushing in to get ready, to get my butt out of bed, because we would be going to Spain near the sea. I was crazy excited, because I could relax, make new friends, see new things. and I love the ocean. So we got on our flight, and I listened to music on the way there. When we got there, it was boiling. We made it to the hotel and checked in, but because it was late already, we were getting ready for bed. I was in my PJs laying in the bed, just browsing the internet via my phone. Now, I'd heard of Discord before, and after seeing some people inviting others to their Discord server and some forums, I figured it'd be a good idea to download the app. I played a lot of games, and I thought it'd be cool to make some new friends via Discord. So, for the first time, I downloaded the app to my phone. I made an account, and I accepted the invite that was posted on that forum. I read a few messages on different channels on that server, but I didn't post anything yet. I went to bed, and I left it alone until morning. I woke up to the sun shining bright and early in my room. It was so hot. I got up and brushed my teeth, anxious to get a shower and clean my sweaty body. My parents were still asleep at that time, but my sister was awake when I was brushing my teeth. She was on her tablet. Seeing her entertaining herself on her tablet reminded me of Discord, so after rinsing, I figured it'd be a good way to pass the time until my parents got ready, so I opened up the app. Soon my parents were ready and we were having some breakfast. I was thankful because I was starving at that point. After we ate, my mom told me and my sister to go play down by the beach, which I thought was an awesome idea. After reminding us to put on some sunscreen, we ran out of the hotel. I had some trunks and a beach ball. The moment I stepped foot outside, though, I felt like I was going to melt on the sidewalk. It was absolutely boiling outside. We got down to the beach, and my sister met a few girls there, and she was talking with them, and I ended up playing volleyball with a couple of boys there, all the while occasionally checking in on my sister. After a couple of hours, my mom sent me a text to come back to the hotel as they'd be going into town soon. I said goodbye to my new friends, but before I could leave, one of them, named Sebastian, poked me in the back. He asked me if I was on any social media so that he could send me a friend request. I'd always just been an internet lurker, and Discord was the first social thing I had, so that's what I told him. He seemed pretty happy at this, so he gave me his group's name with the others so that I could join his server and play some games together. I was excited. I didn't think I'd have some Discord friends this fast. So I agreed and I went to take my sister back to the hotel. But when I turned to take one last look at the group of friends, I saw that the boys were whispering amongst themselves, and they had these weird smiles. It was kind of odd, but I just went with it. Later that night, when we got back from town, it was dark. I was excited to be a part of the server, so I rushed onto Discord and joined the group. They had named it Gaming Boys, appropriately. When I joined, it seemed like I was the only one online. That sucked, as I was excited, but I called it a day and dozed off. The following morning, I got a notification on the Discord group saying, "Welcome, David." Before I knew it, we were playing Fortnite on our mobiles. We did duos and even squads with 4 people of the group. When we were finished, though, I saw that Sebastian had been sending me private messages. He was asking me a lot of questions. He was wanting to know what hotel we were staying in, what hotel room number we had, to which he explained that he simply wanted to get closer as friends while I was here. Okay, I guess. It was pretty forward, but I was all for it, so I gave him the information that he asked for. But the moment I told them the room number, they all went offline almost at the same time. Well, everyone got ready for the day, and after a while there was a knock at the door. My mom thought it was room service, so she called out that it would be a minute. Eventually, she walked over to the door. The moment she turned the knob, she was knocked on her back as the group from the day before burst in, Sebastian standing at the front. They were holding knives, pointing them at us. My heart sank. It's hard to describe the feeling of terror and betrayal that I felt in that moment. I thought I was going to vomit. They were all screaming. My dad was screaming. My sister was screaming. It was so loud, but I knew what they were saying. Give us the money. While my sister cried louder than I'd ever heard her before, my mom and dad obliged and gave them the money they asked for. The moment they left, my dad was on the phone with the police, and I was scarred forever. I was a kid. I just wanted to make friends. We played volleyball and even played some games together, but they used me, and they threatened my family's lives, all for money. Our vacation ended early after this incident. My whole family was shaken, and something changed in me from that day onward. A lack of trust for other people, a certain satisfaction in having fewer friends, and most of all, a fear of discord. I deleted the app and waited for the day when those boys were caught. But I haven't heard a thing. Don't trust people when you go on vacation. Never trust face value friends on Discord or any social media site. Be careful, because people will do anything to hurt you and to get what they want. My scary Discord story from Tesselator. Location: Colorado. Not too long ago, I was an avid Discord user. It all began when I used Discord to meet up with people to play games with. It was the easiest way to do it, especially as I was out of touch with my actual friends and family. But as time grew on, I played less games and just chatted more on Discord. There were whole servers where people just talked. I met a lot of nice people, a lot of weird people, and a lot of mean people. But there was one specific Discord user that I will never forget, because he changed my perspective forever. I would stay up late at night, joining the voice channels, as long as people were there talking, and I would usually just listen, only occasionally taking part in the conversation. We would often joke, talk about religion and conspiracies, which were tied together far too often. It was on a server for Overwatch that I joined a voice channel. There were 6 or 7 of us altogether, but there was a certain user in particular that had everyone's attention. His display name was Caretaker, and he had the default profile picture for Discord. So I first assumed that he was someone new, or someone that didn't get on here too often. But as I joined the voice channel and began listening in, things seemed odd. At first, they were hilarious, because Caretaker was the only one really talking, while the other users would only be laughing or poking fun at what Caretaker was saying or doing. Caretaker didn't say much, but it was what was going on in the background that sounded weird. But I was among everyone else, thinking that it was something innocent, something funny. What we heard sounded like a child crying. We could hear Caretaker himself saying expletives. To me, it sounded like an older brother teasing his younger brother, calling him names, telling him what he's bad at, things like that. But every so often, there was another sound in the background, a sort of smack sound, which would be followed by about a minute of silence, and then more crying. I ended up asking out loud in the voice channel what was going on. I was so curious and confused. One of the other guys said that Caretaker was bullying his brother because he had gotten on his Overwatch account and lowered his rank. I remember cringing at the thought of this. Yeah, that would probably tee me off too. We listened to what we thought was Caretaker and his brother going at it. After an hour or so, Caretaker spoke, and it was the first time I actually heard him close to the microphone.
"Be right back. You gotta get some food,"
he said to us. We could hear him walk away, but he remained in the voice channel with his mic on. For the next 20 or 25 minutes, it was completely silent on his end. His little profile picture didn't even light up, so the rest of us were just talking, discussing our highest ranks in that season, and some particularly juicy plays of the game. After that 20 or 25 minutes, though, Caretaker's icon lit up again, but it was not Caretaker that we heard.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Please help me.
It was really quiet at first, and because it was so sudden after such a long time of silence, the group spoke up, asking him to talk louder. There was silence again. Then a couple of minutes later, someone spoke once more.
Call the police. Call the cops, please. He's gonna be back soon. Please.
And then we all began to laugh. It was some kind of prank, surely. This was just a joke. This was his little brother either complaining or it was Caretaker himself trying to sound like something else, and it made us laugh. After poking fun of the person who was talking, be it Caretaker or his brother or someone else, there was one last bit of audio before it once again went quiet. It sounded like... The rest of us began to cut up and laugh again, discussing what we thought was going on. One guy even said it was the weirdest Discord prank he'd ever been a part of, but it was hilarious and worth it in his opinion. Caretaker eventually said one more thing before suddenly signing out of the voice channel. I remember that clearly. He cursed under his breath, then quickly cut himself from the voice channel, which again made the rest of us laugh. Then we went on with our night. We talked a little bit, made a team on Overwatch for a while. Then I went to bed. It wasn't until the next day, the following afternoon, that I received a message from one of the guys that I was in that chat with. The message said, "Dude," and there was a link. There was an article discussing someone who, apparently, had taken one of the neighbor's kids and locked them away in a room, beating them, starving them, keeping them away from any water. This caused the person to repeatedly black out, and apparently, the guy who did this shared it online in several places. I believe he made an anonymous post on 4chan and a couple of other message boards, always calling himself by his username, Caretaker. Reading that name and seeing that our Caretaker in that Discord server never came back, it chilled me right down to the core. I know deep down that what we heard that night was not a prank or a joke. It wasn't some dude who enjoyed Overwatch, having fun with his brother and some friends online. I believe what I heard that night was that little boy begging for help, while the rest of us laughed. Discord Horror Story from TheTerrorOfEric. Location unknown. I'll be honest with you. I haven't been the best person throughout my life, and it may have been this experience even that caused me to be a better person, basically scaring me onto the right path. Because when you act like a jerk online, you'll eventually run into someone who will fight back, and it's not always a regular fight. I was a bully on Discord, a troll, someone who liked to join servers and start problems, and it was just for the sake of starting problems. Drama made me laugh, gave me a rush. To see how people are easily angered, it was entertaining to me. But yeah, I know, I was a capital A word. I would go from server to server, watching people post messages, have normal conversations, and wait for an opportunity to say something controversial, often things that I didn't even believe in. And let me tell you, politics is easy to make people mad with. The country is so freaking divided right now that all you have to do is bring up a talking point, and people get fiery. I can't tell you exactly what we were talking about on this occasion, probably because it evolved into just sheer rage so quickly, but I will always remember that user's username. It was Burgess, with a random series of numbers after, but we'll just call him Burgess for this story. Burgess was adamant on his views. You could definitely call him a zealot, because when I poked fun of his views, when I showed him the flaws in his ideologies, he didn't try to debate. He went straight from 0 to 100 in seconds. Before I knew it, Burgess was threatening me, calling me all sorts of names, some of which I've never even heard of. He talked big too, saying that he was highly adept in computer technology, that he was a hacker, and that he was going to find me and make me regret saying these things. He said it was people like me that was making this country a worse place for everyone, and that some of us should rise up. I could tell that Burgess had problems, probably more problems than I had. I just wanted to be annoying. I didn't want to start actual physical altercations. It wasn't long before Burgess sent me a DM, and we moved the conversation to our messages. Right away, though, I decided to start de-escalating it. Even I was feeling bad to make him so outraged. I apologized, said that I wasn't trying to be an a-hole, and that everyone had their own opinions on things, and that I respected that. But Burgess, after repeatedly typing no and pressing enter literally 30 or 40 times, said one last thing before I stopped hearing from him on Discord altogether. He simply said, "We are at war, and lessons have to be learned." What the heck, I thought, and I thought I took things too far. Well, that was only the start of it. About 3 or 4 weeks later, long after any normal person would forget about an online argument, I stepped on something on my doorstep, something smushy, that crunched a little bit when I stepped on it. With a cringed look on my face, I raised up my shoe, and there was a piece of paper stuck to it. When I pried off the paper, I saw the goop that was making me stick to it, and it looked to be the remains of a squirrel. Fresh remains, and it wasn't the whole squirrel. I could see ears and maybe whiskers. I wanted to throw up, but first I was taking a look at this paper. It read, "Change your mind?" The hell did that mean? I thought. I threw the paper away, then I washed off my shoe with the water hose outside. I didn't know who did this, but it pissed me off. If I caught who did this, I would be pressing charges if I could, if I didn't punch them first. I went off to work that day and tried to forget about it. But that evening, I came back home, and there was something else on my doorstep. This time, it was the head of a deer, and it was fresh as well. Looked like someone pried it off the road after it got hit. At least I hope that's how they got it. Otherwise, gross. There was a paper on this one as well, as I probably would have expected at this point. This letter read, "How about now?" This time I called the cops. I reported everything, even gave them the paper, and for the next week they kept an eye out on the place. But apparently whoever was doing this was either finished or they knew better and laid low, because the cops didn't see anything weird or out of place that whole week. But the day they stopped patrolling our neighborhood, I received another little surprise. This time it was a mannequin head, a male mannequin head, who happened to have the same hair color as me. And of course, there was another note attached to the back of the scalp. This note read simply, "The next one will be yours." Goosebumps formed all over my body. I swallowed hard, forgot to breathe, and I scanned my surroundings. I was kind of afraid to go into my house. What if this sicko was waiting in there? What if this threat wasn't as empty as I hoped? I quickly ran to my car, leaving everything at my house as it was, and I drove to my parents'. After explaining the situation and calling the cops again, that brings us to where I'm at now as of writing this. The cops are staking out my house every evening. I'm staying at my parents' until things calm down, but I won't be going back to that address. I'll get my things, I'll move away when I'm ready, but I won't be going back there. I don't know if Burgess was the one who started doing this, but the fact that what he said and spoke of when he was outraged with me, and what those notes said, it was too much to be just a coincidence. I seem to have pissed off the wrong person. I won't dare to troll anyone else, let alone message or comment on anything online for a very long time. Discord is a bad place to meet people. From Sickening 50. Location, New York. This was the most traumatizing and weird experience I'd ever had. It was about 2 years ago. I was a kid who wanted to meet a girl. I was in high school at the time, lonely and terribly insecure, but I tried to ignore the romantic part of my life. It seemed to be a failure anyway, and ignoring it helped me focus on what mattered and what made me happy. But I got myself into a certain situation where my hormones could not be ignored. I was on Discord every night. I played a lot of PC games online, and Discord made chatting with folks playing the game you were playing really freaking easy, so it was pretty cool. But after logging out of my game, I think I was playing Neverwinter Nights, I saw some people chatting on the server, and one of those people chatting happened to have a profile picture of themselves, and they were very, very attractive. The profile picture showed a blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl, and she looked to be my age. Immediately I was stricken and interested, so I started in on the chat, acting a little flirtatious in her direction. Her display name was Catgrin, which I think was a play on Catherine, but I can't be sure. After about an hour or so, we remained the only two people still taking part in the conversation, so we moved it to the DMs. There I learned that Catgrin apparently went to the same high school as me, though I didn't recognize her. Then again, the school was absolutely huge, so it was easy to pass up someone, or never see someone in particular. Catgrin loved the games I played too, and as we flirted and the night went on, I got the information that Catgrin lived nearby, and Catgrin seemed very eager to meet me. Being a hormonal teenager, finally getting attention after being so insecure for so long, and having that attention come from a girl who was so cute, I didn't think twice. We set up a day that I could come over, and I counted the minutes until it was time. The next few days passed by quickly. The weekend couldn't come soon enough, and when it did, I was on my bike, riding a few blocks over and going up the steps in an apartment building, excited to see Catgrin in person, wondering if she'd look even more attractive in person. When I got to her door, double-checked the number to make sure it was right, I texted her. I said that I was here. She quickly responded, which made me think she was just as excited as I was. She told me to go on in, that the door was unlocked, and that she would be in the living room in a moment. As I opened the door, my excitement soon turned to nervousness. Was I really ready for this? If no one answered the door, does that mean that she was the only one home? I had never even kissed a girl. I was starting to panic now. I sat on the couch, twiddling my thumbs, and I stared at the hallway nearby, waiting to see her at any moment. But the person that walked around the corner was not Catgrin. It wasn't a high school girl at all. But the worst part was that I recognized this person. It was a man, and he was my uncle. When he saw me, we both stood there and stared at each other. It was awkward, silent even. After about 30 seconds of this, I ran out of the apartment just as my uncle reached for me, asking me to stay here, telling me not to tell anyone. But I shut the door already, and I was not listening. What was he planning? What was he going to do if I wasn't his nephew? How often did he do this, and why? I went back home, sat quietly in my room, even as my mom and dad banged on the door wanting to know if I was okay. I eventually answered, simply stating that I was fine, just tired. I never told my parents about what happened. For one, I knew I'd get in trouble for going to a girl's place alone, and for talking to people online and scheduling meetups, because that's how stories like this happen, obviously. I was also terrified of what would happen to our family if I told them about our uncle. Yeah, Uncle brings kids to his apartment. Yeah, Dad, your brother, who's in his 40s, lures kids to his place alone. I couldn't do it, and I still haven't told them. But now I can't help but feel guilty, because what if he's still doing it? And what if my silence led to someone getting hurt? Discord Predator Hunting. From Blason. Location unknown. It's amazing what you can do online by finding a picture of a cute girl on Google Images, using it as a profile picture, and teasing strangers. A group of friends and I used to do this on various social media platforms and apps. We thought it was fun, baiting predators and exposing them as much as we could for what they are. But given the lack of notoriety that we had, it amounted to little more than simply pranking perverts. But it was fun, and maybe it taught a few of them a lesson, because if they can do it to people, they could have it done to them. And who knows, maybe they'd end up messaging a police officer in disguise. Anyway, it was because of this predator hunting that I soon realized how bad of an idea it was to go around making criminals mad. My friends and I were chilling on Discord, just hanging out in the voice chat. We weren't actively doing anything when one of us received a message. It was Derek who received it. He took a screenshot of the message, then posted it on our server so that we could all see. My immediate reaction was, holy crap. I didn't recognize the guy's username, but he sounded like someone we had pursued in the past and had decided that he was mad about it and wanted to do something. The message said specifically,
I know what you've been doing. I don't like it. I think bad children should be punished.
We told Derek to reply, "What are you gonna do about it?" But there was no response. To me, it was just some rando talking crap. I was a professional at talking crap, so I could recognize it. We went on with our night, playing some games after that, and eventually going to bed. It was around 1 o'clock in the morning when I woke up to my phone ringing. I cursed myself for forgetting to put it on silent. The screen said that it was from Derek, so I quickly picked up. "Dude," I said, "it's 1 in the morning. What's going on?" Then Derek was basically yelling in my ear.
Blason, man, there's someone outside my window. I swear to God, dude. He's been tapping on my glass. He was whispering something. Said if I ran out of my room, he would break the glass and come in at me. He's still here, man. He's standing right there. What do I do?
Ha ha, I replied. Very freaking funny, man. Go to bed. I was about to hang up the phone when he kept yelling.
No, don't. Just please call the police. He's just standing still right now. Maybe he doesn't see that I'm on my phone.
There was the sound of glass breaking, and then Derek began to yell even louder, screaming. I was wide awake now, while Derek was prone to pranking his friends. This was too much, and it sounded real. I dialed the cops. I gave them Derek's address and the information. I gave them his number too. As I couldn't do anything more than that, we hung up, and I sat there, praying for my friend's life. I remember thinking, this wasn't actually happening, was it? What did we get ourselves into? I stayed up all night, waiting to hear a knock at the door or a phone call from someone on Derek's end, maybe one of his family members, but hopefully him himself, telling me that he was okay, that everything was fine. But the morning came and went. My parents were up, and I told them about the situation when they came into my room. At first, they didn't believe me, but I convinced them. They got on the phone with Derek's parents. Then we were on the way to the hospital. Derek was alive, but he was hurt. When we made it there, Derek was barely awake. He had a lot of cuts on himself that looked like they were from glass. He smiled, gave me a thumbs up, then passed out. His parents told me that some man had broken into his room, had chased him with the glass from his shattered window. I couldn't believe it. Someone had tried to take my friend away from me. But he was okay. He survived, and a few months later, everything was back to normal. That horrifying event was now just a memory. Until one night. We were on Discord. We were doing what we normally did, and we had long ago stopped pranking perverts. It was on that night that Derek received another message, one that caused him to forward it to the police. It was from that same guy on Discord, but this message said,
"I won't leave you alive next time."
Discord server tutorial. Don't. From Farrel T. Location unknown. Let me start by saying that personal information and Discord do not mix. If you're on Discord and you're discussing a meetup, don't do it. Or at least be very, very, very sure that what you're about to do is safe. Take it from me and my experience here. You never know when someone evil is going to crawl out of the woodworks and take advantage of you. That's what happened to me. I was in a Discord group. It was a group of friends who liked sci-fi movies. Well, not just movies, basically anything sci-fi, but we held meetups where we watched movies. This would happen every few months or so. It was hard to get everyone's schedules together, and half the time the place we met up at would be different than the last. It depended on a lot of factors. Again, even with a small Discord group, when people live far away and when they have different schedules, it's really difficult to set things up. But we tried, and when it was time for our 6th meetup, I was insanely excited, because I'd come to love these things, and I loved the friends that I made there. On this occasion, we were planning to watch a Korean black comedy horror sci-fi film called The Host, about a big mutant fish monster. It's actually a really good movie. But there was quickly a problem. Usually I write down the time and place we were going to meet up the moment I get the announcement, but that week at work had been really busy, and I had to work at home a few days that week. So by the time I got around to checking the time and place, one of the mods had already unpinned or deleted the announcement. They usually didn't do this. Often they kept the announcements up the whole month, but we had been getting some new mods in the server, so maybe it was an accident. So I looked to the right of the screen to see who was still online. All the mods were off, so I went to the very first user who was online. The username read RummyTubs. Funny, I thought. I sent them a quick message, asking if they happened to catch the time and place of the next meetup. Thankfully, they wrote back quite quickly. Their message read, "Sure thing." Then they appeared to copy and paste the time and place of the event. The address was definitely new, and the drive would be about 90 minutes, but that was fine. Definitely worth it for my friends. But then RummyTubs posted a question. "What color vehicle will you be driving?" I asked why that was important, because it was kind of a weird question, and they said verification, because apparently the place had been rented out and wasn't actually someone's address, so only those invited should be showing up, so they would need the make and model and color of my car to verify it. "All right then," I said, and I gave them my information. I even told them about the deep scratch in my left front fender, just so they can be especially sure it was me when I showed up. I thanked them for the help, then logged off Discord. The meetup would be in 3 days, on a Saturday, and after the week I was having, I definitely needed a break. When it was Saturday evening, around 6:45, I left. I was a few minutes late, but we didn't usually start the movies until about a half hour in, so I was alright. I had to be there at 9:10, so I had plenty of leeway. I typed the address into Google Maps, and then I started to follow the route. Before pulling out of the driveway, however, I decided to try to take a look at the place on Google Street View. But there was no record of it on Street View, which was odd. If this was a place you could rent out for events, you'd think it would show up on Google Street View, or at least have a business listing. But this didn't. Oh well, I thought. This was just the exception. So I went off on my way, and before long it began to rain. The rain came down pretty hard, and when I entered the dark back roads of a forest, my stomach felt nervous. This road was especially dark thanks to the tree coverage, and with my window being blurred by the constant downpour, I found myself going half the speed limit. At this rate, I would be late, and I wouldn't make it to the movie until it was about 20 minutes in. But I reminded myself it wasn't just the movie I was going to see, it was friends that I hadn't seen in about a month and a half. The nervous feeling went away, and I was excited again. I sped up a little bit, which was a bit dangerous, but I wanted to get there fast. According to Google Maps, I was about 10 minutes away when something startling happened. There was a massive popping or bang sound, and my car suddenly grinded to a halt. The ride stopped being smooth, too. It was like the tread on my tires suddenly disappeared. When I slid and stopped on the side of the road in the middle of the rain, my car now facing the woods, after spinning out a little bit, I was thinking, what the hell? I pulled my hood over my head, sighed, then climbed out of the car with my flashlight that I kept in the glove box. I checked the tires one by one, doing the front first. When I came to the back two, I was horrified. They were torn to shreds. It looked like something giant had been chewing on them. I looked back on the road, about 20 yards or so. That's as far as the mist and rain would let me see. And I almost didn't catch a glimpse of it, because it was being dragged into the woods by someone. But there it was. A massive spike trap, slowly being yanked, then yanked and yanked until it disappeared into the woods. What? I thought. I began to fumble the flashlight. Then I ran back into the car. Who put a spike trap out? Why? And they were obviously trying to hide it. I just only gotten out in time to see it. My car was still running, so I pushed on the gas, but all that did was make the car move side to side a little bit. All the while, the metal wheels outside were squealing and hissing as they crunched on the asphalt. It was so loud even from inside the car. This thing was not going to be going anywhere. Being reminded that I was probably not alone out here, I quickly shone the flashlight from each window, making sure there wasn't a menacing silhouette outside. Luckily, for the time being, I was alone. I took that opportunity to panickingly dial 911, but literally the moment an operator picked up, my phone's battery died. Crap. Even if I had kept going, I would have gotten myself lost because I didn't charge my phone. I yanked the glove box back open, and I hurriedly dug around for a spare charging cable. I didn't keep one in my car because usually my battery was charged at home, and it lasted about a day and a half. I was brilliantly unprepared for this situation, as I'm sure anyone would have been. Luckily, I managed to find a very knotted up cable that I could charge my phone with. As I yanked it out and sat back straight in my seat again, trying to unknot the cable, out of my peripheral vision, I was petrified to see that there was someone standing just outside my door. I was too scared to look at them. I knew that at any moment they were going to crash through that window and drag me out screaming. but to my amazement, they simply stood there. In the dark, in the cold, in the pouring rain. They just stood there, inches away from my door. What are you supposed to do in that situation? I stayed still, trying my best to give the impression that I hadn't noticed them yet. But then I heard something horrifying. The sound to the door handle being lifted. Thankfully for me, I had remembered to lock it when I came inside the car, so it didn't open. But now I was sure of it. This person was trying to get me. For what reasons, I don't know, but considering they used a spike trap, the reasons couldn't be good. Slowly, I got the knot undone, all the while the silhouette was still there. I plugged up my phone, and I prayed to see that 1%, because at 0 my phone would not let me turn it on, even if it was plugged up. As I was waiting, the silhouette began to walk slowly around my car. Click. He checked the back driver's side door. Click. The back passenger door. Click. The passenger door. Surely, if he saw me in here, he knew I would lock it if I heard that. It was like he didn't care about his presence being known. Instead, I think he was checking for doors that may have been busted or broken. Doors where the lock didn't work. Then I watched the silhouette walk away into the woods, but I knew that he would be back. It was then, thankfully right then, that another car drove by. The headlights blinded me at first, but they stopped. They got out seeing another car spun out in the middle of the road, and they checked on me. I rolled down my window for them, and I begged for a ride. They were happy to help me and invited me into their car. As they asked me where I needed to go, I told them my home address, and I looked out the window. I stared into the woods nearby, the woods where that man had disappeared. And when this Good Samaritan turned their car around, forcing the headlights to show that part of the woods, I saw him standing there, the stranger that tried to get in. He was hidden by the forest's darkness, but the headlights shone his dark brown coat, and for just 1 second, he wasn't hidden. I saw him in his 6'2" or 6'3" glory. He was wearing a hat, and his face was lowered, so I didn't get his face, but I do know he was wearing gloves. Not the type you wear in the rain, but the type you'd wear if you didn't want to make a mess on your hands, or if you didn't want your fingerprints to show up. We drove away, and I stayed quiet all the way home. I was unsure of whether or not to report this to the police. I didn't have much information, but in the end I decided to anyway. Of course, there was not enough to go on, like I said, but at least people would be warned. Later on, I drove a different route to that address. I wanted to see where the event had took place. When I arrived there, it was nothing but an old burnt-down farmhouse, one that had been nothing but ruins for years. The person on Discord who gave me the fake address, who took the information on my car, he was the one that tried to get into my car. Discord trolling gone wrong. From SadHeroMiyazaki. Location unknown. I ride the bus home from school with my cousin, after which we go to his house for a couple of hours until my parents get home, then I can go home. But during those couple of hours we're at his house, where we usually play Battlefield and hang out with some folks on Discord. But my cousin had a nasty habit of trolling people when we were on Discord. He liked to call people names and start fights. He thought it was funny. That had always been his type of personality, so it didn't surprise me, but it did get annoying fast. Unluckily for him, he ended up annoying the wrong person. I didn't get his username, but he ended up getting into a voice spat with someone who kept threatening to come to his house and hurt him. Of course, it was Discord, so I don't think there was any way of knowing where we live. But considering I lived literally across the street from my cousin, I didn't want any trouble in our little neighborhood. But I didn't stop it. When he starts, there's no stop until he decides it. So the situation got worse and worse until the guy just hung up after threatening to find him. My cousin looked at me with this "can you believe this guy" face, and I made a face that could only be compared to Jim from The Office. A couple of nights later, it was Saturday and I was staying up playing games in my room. From my bedroom window, I have a look over the neighborhood and I could see my cousin's house directly. It must have been around 11:30. That's when everything gets dark and quiet around here, so when a car pulled up outside my cousin's house, it was kind of odd, so I sat at the window and I watched. Suddenly, two people in very dark clothes got out of the car. Instead of walking up to the front door, I was shocked to see that they jumped over the back fence. The next thing I heard was screaming. I remember being so startled and horrified that I ran to my parents' room and shook them awake. I took them to my room where they could hear the screaming as well and saw the strange car still outside. They called the police, but before the police showed up, the two strange people left in their car, peeling out in the road, then disappearing into the night. My dad rushed over to my cousin's house to check on everything. The police showed up. They got people's stories, and eventually my dad came home and told me everything. It was super creepy and pretty funny also. Apparently, the two people that broke into their home went to my cousin's room and stood there, slowly waking him up. He was terrified to see strangers in his room. That's when the screaming started. My cousin swears that he heard the guys laughing as they left. They didn't take anything and they didn't hurt anything. I think that they just wanted to scare him. The guy from Discord is currently being investigated by the cops, but he claims to have nothing to do with it. But I'm pretty sure he's just lying. That's our creepy and kind of funny Discord story. Creepy guy in Discord. From Venom was here. Location unknown. This was an experience my girlfriend had. She uses Discord when she streams games. Once when she was streaming, she had a lot of people in her Discord, probably the most she'd ever had at one time. A strange person joined, who started to ask her very personal questions, then started saying things that only she and I knew about. This creeped her out right quick. She went ahead and banned him from the Discord server, and everything seemed fine. But apparently he made a new account later on and joined again, saying in the chat, "Hold on while I friend you on PlayStation." That's when a profile appeared on PlayStation with the same username as that creep. Of course she didn't accept it, but she did somehow get a party invite from him. She joined just to tell him over the mic to leave her alone. He didn't have a mic though, so he added in Discord, "Thank you for joining my party." Then he began talking about what he planned to do after meeting her in real life. She said she wasn't going to let that happen, but he said it didn't matter because it was going to. At that point, a lot of people thought it was a trick or staged, as it was just too weird. That's when he said this before leaving the Discord. "I'll see you soon." I didn't hear all the story until she called me over right after this. She didn't feel safe at the time, so she wanted someone over. Then she told me the story. I stayed with her for a few hours, when suddenly someone pulled up to her house in a vehicle we did not recognize. Two apparently drunk dudes got out, who were kind of short in stature. One started to bang on the door until he got mad and tried to kick it open. She called the police, and before they showed up, the guys left. After this event, she closed down her Discord and was much more strict. I'm glad I was there, and I'm glad those guys weren't in their right minds. Otherwise, they may have been able to get in. Who knows what would have happened then. Discord Horror Story from TJ. Location unknown. I'm a lurker on 4chan. I found plenty of shock threads and disturbing photos. I eventually stumbled upon a thread where people were being invited to a Discord server. People were sharing their aliases, invite links, and there was quite a bit of, racism, of course. I came across one link that intrigued me. It was a server invite from the original thread poster, a link to their Discord. I thought I might as well, even if I get harassed. Clicking through, there was a lot of NSFW stuff, a lot of profanity, as you would expect from 4chan users. As I scrolled through the general chat, a guy I'm going to give the name of LongJongBong42069 posted 3.7z files. Giving in to my curiosity, I made the mistake of downloading and opening these documents. I was shocked to see what they contained. Images of children, inappropriate photos being taken of them by adults they probably trusted or didn't know. I wanted to vomit after seeing this. I was horrified. I deleted the files, deleted my Discord account, then reset my computer. What is wrong with people? I swear to God, people are the most horrifying thing on this planet. Don't worry, Discord is a nice place, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be careful about which servers you get invited to or click through to. Each one is its own little microcosm, an ecosystem of sorts, and some of these ecosystems devolve into the most degenerate filth, or maybe they were that from the beginning. So be cautious, be careful, or you might end up on my next Discord Horror Stories video. Good night. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you want to hear your story in an episode, you can send it to us at darknessprevails.org. Also, be sure to support the show by checking out our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, using the link in the description. You can also donate on Patreon at patreon.com/darknessprevails, or by shopping our merchandise at teespring.com/stores/darknessprevails. Thank you. Now, as usual, here are my 5 favorite early comments from the previous video, about 5 horror stories from your grandparents' house. Borikua says, "Darn DP, I'm fresh out of diapers. Oh well, thank God for washing machines. Keep 'em coming, bud. That's gross in the awesomest way. Thank you. I'll be sure to send you some new diapers so you can keep on enjoying my videos." Cortez Castillo says, "When she hears that you haven't eaten yet, now that's the scariest part. Ah yeah, I think we all have that memory from grandmas. When you tell her you're not hungry, and then she brings you out a plate of food she just made. Grandma, I know you heard me." Liz Santiago says, "Yeah, I'll stick with my grandpa's war stories." Those are good too. What are we gonna do when we outlive all the people who have war stories? Live in peace? Pfft. Just kidding, that'd be great. And those war stories and grandparents will definitely be missed. Natalie2154P says, "Reminds me of the movie The Visit." That movie was sick and pretty cool. I liked it, even if a lot of people didn't. And Everything Girl 238 says, "Over the river and through the woods to the house of darkness we go. And never to return." You forgot the best part. Well, that brings us to the end of this Darkness Prevails episode. But don't you worry, more scary stories are on the way soon. So stay tuned. Until next time, here are the credits to my amazing patrons who continue to donate. Remember, stay safe out there and stay creepy, because this world is a strange one.